Blake Lively's team may have just made the biggest mistake of her career. They thought they could weaponize the word harassment against Justin Baldoni, but the truth behind that headline is almost laughable. It wasn't about misconduct or toxic behavior or anything close. It was about a subpoena. And when the public realizes they've been manipulated, sympathy doesn't just vanish. It flips. Suddenly, the victim looks like the aggressor and credibility collapses. This isn't just a PR stumble. It could be the spark that turns a Hollywood darling into the face of a full-blown backlash. And what's coming next in court could make this miscalculation impossible to recover from.
Nothing kills a PR campaign faster than when people realize that they have been manipulated.
Justin Baldoni has responded. It Ends With Us co-star and Blake Lively mini-me, Isabella Ferrer, with a scorching new legal filing you do not want to miss.
Because in Hollywood, nothing burns faster than the smell of manipulation. One wrong headline, one exaggerated claim, and suddenly the star who thought they were pulling the strings is exposed as the one tangled in them. Right now, that's exactly where Blake Lively finds herself.
But in reality, the opposite is happening. And the reason for that is now they are using the word harassment to explain something as simple as receiving a subpoena. They are watering out that word. They're trivializing that word. And by doing that, it makes them look bad in front of all other real victims. They're abusing a very powerful term to describe a situation which has nothing to do with harassment.
Her team thought they could weaponize the word harassment to control the narrative against Justin Baldoni, but the gamble may have been too risky. Because when you use a word that carries so much weight and you twist it into a PR stunt, people notice. And once they feel manipulated, sympathy doesn't just vanish. It flips. Suddenly, the victim looks like the aggressor, and the carefully built narrative crumbles overnight. What started as a headline win for Lively might soon be the very spark that ignites a backlash. And with the courts now watching closely, this move could go from clever spin to catastrophic miscalculation. But the deeper you look into this strategy, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just about one lawsuit, it's about credibility. And in Hollywood, credibility isn't optional. It's the only currency that matters.
Look, this wasn't a good look for Justin at all, and Blake clearly knew it, Isabella clearly knew it, and now, of course, since our reporting yesterday, all the headlines are running into the Justin Baldoni harassed another co-stars. What the sort of anybody who's not paying attention, that's what they're going to take away from this. And that's just so disgusting.
The headlines were everywhere. Isabella Ferrer felt harassed by Justin Baldoni. Bold, shocking, and instantly shareable. For casual readers, it looked like Baldoni had crossed a line on the set of It Ends With Us, but dig beneath the surface, and the truth is almost laughably different. This harassment claim wasn't about inappropriate behavior, toxic workplace dynamics, or anything close. It was about a subpoena.
Girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you got an issue with this man, then say it. Don't say it because he's trying to save his career and his reputation. If your text was a lie and it wasn't a safe space, then what are you waiting for? You've now teamed up with the devil, in my opinion, Blake Lively.
Yes, Baldoni's team was trying to legally call Ferrer as a witness, the very same witness Blake Lively's side had already involved.
As I said before, she was okay with being subpoenaed by Blake Lively, but she doesn't want to be subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni. Anyways, it could seem like Blake Lively is on top of things now and she got her will, and now we can see these headlines everywhere that Isabella Ferrer was harassed, which would fit perfectly into Blake Lively's narrative here.
When Ferrer dodged service, his team pressed the court for alternative methods. Suddenly, what was a routine legal process became framed as harassment, and that single word choice changed everything. By twisting subpoena into harassment, Lively's camp may have won a few sensational headlines, but they also watered down a term that carries real weight for survivors. And that's where the backlash is brewing. Because if critics and judges decide this was nothing more than clickbait spin, it doesn't just weaken her claim, it exposes her as manipulative. And manipulation, once exposed, is poison for any PR campaign.
And now you're like trying to paint him as this harasser because he subpoenaed you? Blake Lively subpoenaed you first! Make it make sense.
And it can take away the sympathy that she was looking for and she was counting on for doing this PR stunt, and it could totally flip, and it will. They knew that when they put that word in Isabella Ferrer's complaint, that would get picked up by the media. It was complete clickbait, and it worked in that sense. They got what they wanted. But when people realize that they've been manipulated.
This is the trap of Hollywood PR. When you gamble with the truth, you risk setting fire to your own brand. By framing a subpoena as harassment, Lively's team didn't just undermine Baldoni, they undermined the seriousness of the word itself. And in a world hyper-aware of how language impacts victims, that's a dangerous move. The more people talk about this twist, the more the narrative turns against her. Suddenly, she's not the brave actress standing up to a toxic director. She's the one trivializing real harassment cases for a headline win. That flips sympathy on its head.
And allowing the press to now go negative on Justin without you ever even saying whether he did anything on set and whether Blake's telling the truth or not is kind of shocking. If you don't know, then say that. That's another answer. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't hear any of this. I don't know. I suspect she doesn't want to do that because then she'll go against Blake and Ryan, who are very powerful.
Baldoni's lawyers now have ammunition to argue that if her team would mislead the press with one word, how can the court trust the rest of her claims? That's not just bad optics. It's a credibility crisis. And in Hollywood, where reputation is survival, that kind of damage is nearly impossible to recover from. Lively's camp may have thought this would score her public support, but instead, it looks like the move that could cost her the most. And just when the dust should have settled, a new twist has reignited the flames.
So the way they're using harassment here looks very manipulative and cruel and disrespectful to actual survivors. That's not what Blake Lively wants. And the moment that critics or the courts point this out, it could really backfire on her.
Foremost, let's just get into how I found out about this subpoena, because I want you guys to really comprehend like fully how fake and gay everything in Hollywood is. And this is a perfect opportunity.
Just when Blake Lively's team thought they had controlled the narrative, another curveball hit. Jed Wallace, originally dismissed from the lawsuit on jurisdiction grounds, is now back in the fight. And this time, he's armed with a bold request to unseal parts of Blake Lively's deposition. At first, it seemed baffling that her legal team would agree. Why hand ammunition to the other side? But the move reveals something deeper, a PR calculation. Fighting too hard to keep testimony sealed could have looked like she had something to hide. By agreeing, she paints herself as transparent, as if to say, I've got nothing to cover up. But transparency can be a dangerous strategy when every word in that deposition could be twisted, dissected, and turned against her. And that's exactly what Wallace intends to do. His team doesn't need the whole transcript. They just need the parts that expose contradictions, the cracks in her carefully polished story. By agreeing to this unsealing, Lively may have avoided the optics of secrecy, but she's opened the door to fresh attacks. In Hollywood and in court, perception is everything. And this move may prove once again that trying to play both games at once always backfires. Why would Blake Lively's team take such a risky step? The answer lies in optics. In an industry where every move is dissected by both the public and the press, being seen as secretive is often worse than taking a hit. Judges don't like sealed testimony. The media thrives on access. And the court of public opinion is ruthless when it senses you're hiding something. By releasing controlled excerpts, her camp believes they can get ahead of the spin. It's the same playbook they've run before, release just enough to claim transparency while keeping the bigger story locked away. But here's the catch, even a small leak can spiral out of control. Already, whispers from inside the deposition hint at finger-pointing, with Lively blaming Hollywood power players for orchestrating smear campaigns against her. But the problem with blaming everyone else is that it reinforces the narrative that this case is built on feelings, not facts. Once again, she risks looking like the aggressor rather than the victim. And as more of this testimony trickles into the spotlight, the image of Lively as a calculating player grows harder to ignore. If the legal twists weren't enough, the drama got a fresh jolt from an unexpected voice, a former CIA spy turned body language analyst. Clips of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni on set were shown to him, and his take was damning. In one scene, Baldoni steps aside, letting Lively lead. His touches are open, vulnerable, signaling connection. But her responses? Dominating, guarded, controlling. "This isn't chemistry," he explained. "This is competition." The same dynamic appeared in their now infamous dance scene. Lively seemed uncomfortable, yet determined to control the room, even giving directions about the lighting. And in a press interview, she cut off questions, interrupting before the reporter had even finished. While her co-stars shrank into defensive postures, Lively owned the space, commanding attention. The analyst's conclusion was blunt. This is not a woman being pushed around. This is a woman asserting dominance. For Baldoni, that analysis flips the script. Instead of being cast as a harasser, he now looks like the professional trying to manage a co-star who wouldn't stop taking over. And in Hollywood, where perception is everything, the visual evidence of that power struggle might be the most damaging blow yet. When you line it all up, the headlines, the legal filings, the body language analysis, a clear picture emerges. This isn't the story of an actress unfairly silenced by a domineering director. It's the story of two powerful personalities colliding, with Blake Lively determined to control both the set and the narrative. And while that determination may have worked behind the camera, in the courtroom it's playing very differently. Baldoni's quiet professionalism now looks like restraint in the face of manipulation. Lively's calculated spin now looks like desperation. And the more her team tries to bend public perception, the more critics accuse her of trivializing real issues and weaponizing sympathy for clicks. That's the danger of Hollywood PR. It can win you a headline, but it can just as quickly turn you into one. And right now, that's exactly what's happening. The more this story unravels, the more it becomes clear that her credibility, the one thing money can't buy, may already be slipping through her fingers. And once that's gone, no script, no studio, and no PR machine can bring it back. So where does this all go next? Straight into uncharted territory. More of Blake Lively's deposition is about to be unsealed, and insiders say the contents could expose contradictions she cannot spin her way out of. Every word, every phrase, every accusation will now be dissected, not just in court, but in the court of public opinion. And if the leaks so far are any indication, the fallout won't just affect her case. It could shadow her career, her public image, and even her household name as Hollywood's golden couple. Because in this industry, credibility is everything. Once the mask slips, audiences rarely forgive. What began as a lawsuit is now a full-blown credibility crisis, and the spotlight is only getting hotter. The big question now isn't whether Blake Lively can win in court, it's whether she can survive the court of public opinion. And with every headline, every leak, and every crack in the story, the truth becomes harder to hide. The stage is set, the cameras are rolling, and the next act could be the one that changes everything.